on the Water has been brought to you by Here we are with Kevin Ezard, the skipper of the motor cruiser Funky. Firstly, thanks for having us on board, mate.
It was a pleasure, Tim.
Right, tell us a little bit about the boat.
Well, I've only had this boat for a month, and I had a smaller boat, and I've graduated to this, and I'm really enjoying it. You know, a new boat is very challenging, and but a great fun.
So it's a 36-foot Riviera.
Yes.
Tell us about the engines in it.
Well, that's the good part. See, the engines are twin 330 Cummins diesels, and they're pretty popular engines, and they go well, and that gives it a top speed of about 28 knots, which is getting up there.
Well, a bit earlier we were doing a round about that, and it was absolutely fantastic, getting a few waves coming through the front of a Mini. That was magnificent.
Well, the thing is, you see, Port Phillip Bay is spectacular for getting waves up very, very quickly. So what happens here is that all of a sudden the waves come up, and you've just got to get up on top of those waves. So if you get up to those sorts of speeds, you can really get through comfortably. If you're sort of labouring on around 10 knots, it can get pretty rough and wet, and just uncomfortable. So that's why one of the reasons why I graduated to a bigger boat with more power.
What sort of fuel levels are you using at around 20 knots?
20 knots, it takes around 60 litres an hour, but you know, that's fairly modest. I mean, it's a big boat. I mean, it's 36 foot, but the actual overall length is 41 feet, and it weighs over 10 tonnes, so it's a lot of boat to push through the water.
Oh, definitely. What sort of fuel capacity do you have?
1,200 litres, which at 60, you know, gives me a fair range for coastal cruising.
Oh, magnificent. Well, obviously coastal cruising, so it's set up. It's almost like it's a palace, really, isn't it?
Well, a boat like this, this is the platinum version of the Riviera, and they put everything in it. I mean, it's got air conditioning, and it's got the gen set, so you can run your own power. It's got inverters. It's got all that stuff, which all just comes as part of the boat. So for coastal cruising, it's extremely comfortable. If you can pull in and find a marina with power, terrific, plug it in, away you go. But if you can't, we just run the gen set, and you've still got power to run your microwave or whatever. So it's kind of a home away from home, really.
Magnificent. Now, I've had a look at the instruments here. That's a fair array of some of the latest in technology, obviously.
Well, a boat like this, you really need to have good navigation gear, because you've got to know where you are, and also a pretty comprehensive depth sounder, because you don't want to run into anything you don't want to. And of course the engines, there's everything here you really need to know. Also, we've got here an auto pilot, which for long trips is fantastic. It means you can just get around, look at things as the boat's heading in the right direction.
Yep.
I've also got a wind gauge, which is more for yachting, but I find it very helpful on a power boat, because if I'm coming into a marina and I can look at this and I can see where the wind's coming from, at what strength, and it helps me a lot when I'm docking the boat.
Yeah,
it's very handy.
Adjust accordingly. Right, now, we were involved in seeing the Geelong Passage, the start of that race today, the fair bit of wind. You're also organising the Motor Cruiser Rally. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it all started because, well, the Volvo race here, as you can see, the Volvos are in town, and that's a big event for us in Melbourne. But at the same time, there's the Geelong Passage race, where all the yachts go down to Geelong for the long weekend. So we said, well, why don't we have a motor cruiser rally? All the yachties are all going to Geelong. We'll all go to Docklands, because there'll be lots of empty berths. And so that's where the idea came. And also it was an opportunity to get the motor cruiser people together. We've never had a collective rally of all of the clubs.
Right.
And so we've got over 60 motor cruisers here participating in the event.
The question I've got to go, can I have a go? Well, in fact, I did have a go a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and I think you know how to drive a boat. You were pressing the right buttons, mate.
I tell you what, you've got to love autopilots.
Oh,
well, actually, I'll tell you what, my memory's shot. Now, for the viewers, one thing the viewers like, how much is a 36-foot Riviera worth?
Now, I suppose the standard answer to the question is don't tell my wife, but my wife was involved with the purchase, so I can tell you. This boat would normally be advertised at about 375 to 395,000. That's their current value, 2 or 3 years old, and that's what this one is. But what happened there was we first bought a boat 6 years ago, and we paid about 80,000 for that.
Yeah.
It was our the first boat was 20,000. That was a long time ago. And we found that we really liked power boating, so then we graduated this. Now, instead of buying a holiday house, we decided we'd buy a boat. And it serves the same purpose because we go out at weekends, we enjoy it, it's comfortable, it's got all, my wife loves the facilities because it's got microwaves and everything you want, and I've got my engines to play with.
Yep.
So it's kind of a lot of fun, and yet it's really just a holiday house to us in terms of the investment.
Yeah, oh look, I think it's absolutely brilliant. Now I'm going to have to try and sort of work my way up the holiday house of similar help by then. Kevin, thanks very much for being on the water.
Okay, thank you.
On the Water has been brought to you by